Next up, we've got Mr. Pawan Sachdeva, Senior Managing Director and Technology Head, India, Carelon, a progressive and revered leader in the healthcare and life sciences industry with extensive experience in driving strategy, innovation, and GCC architecture. We've got also with us Mr. Samyak Jain Head, Mr. Samyak Jain, Head Standard Chartered Modeling and Analytics Center, Standard Chartered. 2 decades plus of stellar experience across banking, consulting, startups and global capability centers transformed analytics from a support function to a strategic enterprise partner. Can we have all our panelists up on stage, please? And not to forget our moderator. We've got with us Smita Hemige, Managing Director, ANSR. Smita leads marketing and employer branding at ANSR. Prior to joining ANSR, held leadership roles at ThoughtWorks, CSS Corp, Unisys, Infosys, and Logica. A seasoned marketer with 2 decades of experience, has helped corporations achieve sales growth while maintaining brand integrity. Ladies and gentlemen, looks like our panels are ready and our moderators ready as well. Let's put our hands together and begin the round table with all our leaders. Over to you.
Thank you so much for that. It's a packed day. I see people even standing on the side, so it all means congratulations, Samir, on another successful event.
Actually, not so good reward for coming late, actually.
But we're back and we're talking about AI. I think it's one of the most spoken topics that we get to see in the market today. And I think everything has an AI label plastered on it. We did about 63 GCCs from last April to this year in March, which means that we did a GCC more than a week at ANSR. And what's interesting is that, from about September, October, the conversations that we started having was leaders who came, CIOs, CXOs, heads of technology, business services, corporate functions. We would like to hire and set up a 300-member team, but what does that landscape look like tomorrow? What happens to that 300 people? Do the 300 people remain? Is there a digital AI or an AI-native GCC blueprint? And I think what we're trying to do on this panel today is actually break a lot of that down. We did a survey a few months back, and and specifically to do with AI, and we figured that 80% of the GCCs that were here were doing some formats of AI POCs, either in large formats or small formats across the organization. And that number significantly went up in terms of doing POCs across most mature organizations as well. So with that said, and Samir said I'll give you a fantastic panel, and these people are whom you can go back and ask about everything to do with AI. And I said, wow, okay, let me be part of this and would love to hear from you all. And I'd love to start with you, Kaustubh. When we talk about AI and GCCs, and just to go back to the foundations, right, which is super critical, there's a lot of emphasis on speed to set up, as well as, talking about flexibility and agility and disruption and all of that. The strength of the foundation is rarely spoken or is hardly highlighted. And it's also a non-negotiable that needs to be hardwired into the organization DNA. Because AI is not just about tech platforms, it's also a lot of change management. So what does that mean for day one? What do organizations do right? And more importantly, what do organizations don't do well?
That's a great question. And you talk about it in 2 contexts, right? One is a greenfield GCC where a global organization is just starting to think of setting up a center in India. I think the other context also is existing GCCs when they decide to really transform into AI native or an innovation center for organizations. I define it in probably 3 or 4 lenses. the first non-negotiable and a very difficult one is convergence. Are you really looking at converging on what is the purpose behind setting up the GCC versus what the GCC starts delivering on? And a lot of times that is at crossroads, because the classical setup starts with labor arbitrage capacity, but then the ambition switches to transformation, innovation. And if you're not converging up front, not deciding on the operating model up front, down the line that's going to create a lot of challenges. The second, I think, extremely important is culture, right? And that's very, very underrated as an infrastructure. Today, you have to decide whether you're going to be culturally similar to the parent organization, but a lot of GCCs today are also being used to showcase a forward-looking culture that the organization wants to create within itself. And a lot of times it's easier to create and demonstrate that in a GCC than trying to navigate the complexities of the organization. The third is capabilities, right? And which is really the talent architecture. And that is where, a lot of organizations go wrong. In the zeal for velocity, you probably ignore the context and the impact that the talent can bring to you if done right. I firmly believe in what I call anchors and bridges. The top 15 to 20% of your GCC hires have to be the ones who can bring the context of the business, not just the function, the context of the customer and not just the internal stakeholders. And with that context and the cultural differentiation, you can then really circumvent what you want to do. What I would though say is, at the bottom of it, hardwiring is probably the biggest mistake that all of us do. If we start hardwiring from day one, you lose the adaptability that needs to exist, because by the time you get your foundations right, the priorities have already changed and the ecosystems have already moved on. So how do you build in that adaptability layer into whatever you're designing becomes extremely difficult to do when you are trying to go across and meet multiple objectives.
Thanks. If you move to the second question, I think, and Amit, I'd love to have you chime in. We speak about AI native, right? And a lot of organizations think and want to believe they're AI native because they've implemented a small, part of using an available LLM, or their employees have an experience of using that in their personal life. How does that whole AI native actually pan out when it means in practice? Because there are two stages, right? The organization is operating in two speeds. There's a speed where the GCC is operating, where you're constantly innovating and you're building and you're taking something into production. And then there's a parent that's operating at a very different speed. And also, there's a lot of impatience to kind of take something out to market. So you have done a lot of launches and releases to the market, so I'd love to have you kind of come in and share your experience.
Yeah, no, first of all, I think this is my first time here, so thanks, Sameer and team for having me here. The title here says Supremacy. How many of you have read the book Supremacy? Yeah, few. So if you haven't, it's a book by Parmi Olsen. She's a Wall Street Journal. Please read that book. If you are in the AI space, it's going to give you so much information about OpenAI, DeepMind, as well as Anthropic. And you will realize that all these people were working together at some point in time. And now I think they have come out and then they are building their own company. So that's one. AI native is a very loaded word, right? Last week in San Francisco, there is a retail store that opened by a company called Andon, A-N-D-O-N. Anybody heard about it? Yeah, so there's one hand. If you haven't, it's a purely AI native organization. The person who's the owner of that store is called Luna, L-U-N-A. Luna is an AI bot. And Luna has been given 100K by Andon to run that store. What Luna did, Luna decided, I need to hire employees. I need to set up the interiors for the store. I need to do marketing. So So Luna posted jobs, Luna interviewed humans, Luna set up the product catalog, and that store, and you can actually look up on Google, and there's a whole article and a small YouTube video on that. And this is an experiment which will run for 3 years to see if you can really have robots run your retail store. So it's an actual experiment, right? So it can go that extreme. But in reality, right, what we are doing, I can share what we are doing at Lowe's. So, and our AI strategy is very much rooted in our overall business strategy. And I know Sheena was talking about the leadership agency. There was no AI word in that, right? So our strategy is very core to our business strategy of helping our customers. And our AI strategy is rooted on 3 things, right? How we work, how we shop, and how we sell. And any product that we build is very, very tightly coupled to each of these themes. So one example I will share is how we think we are trying to become AI native. Around 2.5-3 years back, we launched one of our flagship products, which is called Milo. And Milo is a Gen AI-based home improvement chatbot sitting on our website, which is Lowe's.com. And the same chatbot sits in our stores in the Zebra devices where it can help our associates help our customers. What it has changed is these are AI products, but these are embedded in our business processes of how our customers shop with us and how our associates are helping our customers and selling the product. So I think for AI nativity, it varies to the degree you are going to embed that into your business processing. That will define how much AI native you can.
Thanks. I'd like Pawan for you to kind of go next. We're talking about intelligence at scale, but there's also a piece around judgment, right? You can't see them without the 2 lenses. So with AI actually democratizing intelligence with enterprises at scale, and GCCs actually are leading some of these efforts and co-partnering with HQ in many ways because you've got teams based across both shores. What are some of the, biggest or what are the initiatives that GCCs are undertaking or, where Carelon is undertaking or from your conversations with others, where they're talking about bridging this gap and they're also talking about what does that mean for the human in the lead? How do you go back to see the span of control of a human? I'm sure that's going to increase. It's a very loaded question, but would love to hear your view.
I think there are multiple parts of the question, but then let's go back to how Samir started in the beginning, reset. I think very first and most critical component for any GCC to get into AI is reset your thinking. Reimagine the processes end-to-end. AI is not an incremental automation like the automation which we have been doing traditionally with bots. I see some of the organizations still using AI also as a bot that add as a patch, now have an agent doing some level of automation. But we believe we have to reset. We have to reimagine the process completely from the start to see how you can transform the process by leveraging AI. In order to do that, there are fundamental changes which we have to do. Data foundation has to be very, very strong. It's the number 1 component for AI to be successful. And now with the integration of unstructured data and structured data, your data foundation has to be a combination of both. That is where you can see a true value. Then second, with agents, human and agents working together, you need to have a strong agentic governance. As you track what humans used to do, now a lot more you have to see with agents, because agents are working 24/7, which means you need to have a stronger governance, observatory layer to see how your agents are performing, having a auditing mechanism. One agent is building something, another agent needs to audit that. Okay, then third one is having human trained to leverage it more effectively. Humans should be trained to start interacting with agents and technology a lot more comfortably. Now, second part of your question is how we can play a better equation with human judgment. So human, there is no substitute of human judgment and context. Because AI is learning, AI is adopting, but still there are a lot of things that come from human judgment. You know the situation, you have certain context about your business. So it is very important to use that context and human judgment with these 3 layers which I am talking about from AI for you to add a value. And And that's where we can see our real value by transforming processes end to end. With human judgment, human context, leveraging AI effectively on day-to-day basis. It has to be AI native to Amit's point. It has to be AI native. You cannot use AI as a bolt on your existing application. AI has to be embedded in your larger ecosystem. We have to build intelligence with AI rather than creating efficiencies.
Thanks, Pawan. And Samyak, I'd like you to kind of answer this. While I think Pawan brought up a very important aspect, which is it can't be seen as an afterthought. It has to be right into the core of everything that you have to do, and it needs from that lens. You don't want to do this ad hoc, right? You need to have a playbook. And what does that playbook look like? And I'd like Samyak to go, and then I'd like the three panelists as well to come and add to what you think should be into that playbook. I do know that there's a playbook that's coming to you all at the end of this event today, but this could be other aspects which could be part of the playbook or in addition to what you already will read as part of the document.
Absolutely, I'm very happy that all the colleagues that they have described on various questions, in many ways we converge to the same topic, whether it be the discussion around the foundation, whether it be around what the AI strategy should look like, to what we do with that, with human in the loop, etc., etc. The first and foremost in the playbook should clarify the meaning, the purpose of why we are doing it. And that meaning should not take you away from your basic core identity. If I take an example of SCMAP, we are a bank, we are Standard Chartered Bank, 174-75-year bank, which started off its operation in India. Many of you won't know. The person who started Standard Chartered is the same guy who also started the Economist magazine. So same set of individual entrepreneur who started these two businesses. The core identity will not shift. We still remain bank. We still have fiduciary responsibility. And within that construct, how do we leverage AI should be the basic core of the meaning. Why are we doing it? We are still doing it because we are a bank. We keep your money safe. We are investing it to make profit. We are giving it to individuals who are going to return the money back to us at the right price, where we make profit, where we return to our shareholders an appropriate return that we have committed to the market, etc. So, once you have that clarity, around that clarity is where the playbook needs to come in. Now, once all of that is done, the meaning is clarified, then you talk about what are the problems you are facing in order to achieve the outcome you have committed to the market. The problem statement could be in multiple areas: risk, marketing, operation. I'm talking about bank, but it could be something else, merchandising in retail or preventive maintenance in manufacturing, etc. Look at the problem statement, look at whether you have the appropriate data layer, the platform to enable the solution that you are looking for. Right? Now, once that is done, then comes how part of it, which could be an agentic solution, could be as simple as a dashboard, could be the traditional analytics layer, what we used to call even in 1960s, 70s. Banks still used to build predictive model using pen and paper. When I started my career, I had some of my bosses who told me that they used to bring data in bunch paper, in boxes, and with pen and paper they used to create predictive model, logistic regression out of that, right? So the basic fundamental doesn't change. The tool approaches, etc. will change, will bring speed, will bring scale, and that's all should get into the playbook from my perspective. And of course, you need to have a governance layer on top of it. You can't let loose the agent without any control. You need to have feedback loop, which also gives you continuous reinforced learning, so that you don't stick to the same place even after 3 years, even after 4 years. You're learning, the environment is changing. In case of fraud, it changes pretty fast. EML, money mule, all of that will change very, very fast. So hence you need to have that kind of agility to make the system learn on its own and so on and so forth. So combination of that is what should define the playbook.
Pavan, do you want to?
So all good points, but on top of that, what I feel, there is a lot of excitement about AI. Usually technology, whenever there was a technology evolution, so technology teams who used to say, okay, we have to use it, and there used to be a resistance from business. But with AI, now it's reverse. Business is more enthusiastic about leveraging AI, and technology is saying, okay, hold on, this is not the right use case for you to leverage AI. So which means there is a larger, across the globe there is excitement about AI, but at the same time it is creating anxiety also among people. Oh, probably my job will no longer need it. So what I feel is playbook should have for each of the role broadly, what are the activities which will be taken care by agents and agentic and AI, versus there are a lot of new activities which will get added for each of the role which we are not even thinking today. How playbook should have a combination of, okay, what needs to be kind of taken care by AI, by this role, and what are the additional things which need to be done on top of what we are not doing even today.
Also,
I'd probably take a step back and say that, a AI playbook has to be an organizational playbook and not about the technology. The first step, I believe, is how do you make an organization AI ready? Right? There is, as you said, there's so much of enthusiasm about AI that everybody wants to just jump in, create solutions, go after it. Now, AI readiness comes beyond, the data infrastructure readiness. It is also about, do you, as an organization, have the right mindset and the skill set to really take advantage, and how are you going to build that? The second aspect of AI readiness is also going to be what aspect of your portfolio are you really going to focus on and prioritize while you are trying to look for solving problems using AI. AI native, AI first need not be across the organization. As a GCC, if you're looking at it, it has got to be pockets where you have ownership, you have decision-making authority, you have the ability to make those changes and influence those changes. The second aspect is where, how do you differentiate between, augmentation with AI versus what we're talking about, the rewiring, and how do you help all the stakeholders understand all of this at the same time, and how you handle the change. Most of our playbooks do not focus on change management as much as it really needs to be, because it is a reset organization. I think these 2-3 aspects, if you bring into the playbook, then the playbook doesn't remain operational. I think it allows different stakeholders to reflect and convert what needs to happen.
They are going to get like 140 pages of playbook today, end of the day, right? So they have that large playbook. Obviously, all of them are going to put it into a chat GPT and say, give me the top 3, right? So I'll give you the top 3 that I believe, we use at Lowe's. The first one is the data layer, right? Make sure that you have a strong data foundation layer, because today large language models, are not talking so greatly with your structured data sets. But if you have a strong semantic layer created which has business sense built into it, your AI will talk to the semantic layer, right? So that's one, the foundation layer. Second thing, the hardest part in AI is change management, right? So 70% of your effort will go into doing the change management within the organization, and AI and technology hardly will play a 10 to 30% role in that. So make sure that the middle portion of what, why, where, when is kind of laid out, right? So that's the second piece of the playbook. Your data is done, why you are doing it, and you are able to do your change management along with your business reasons for it, right? So that's the second layer in your playbook. And then the third layer, which is still broken, I feel, in the AI world, is the measurement. How do you measurement? Everybody has their own way of saying, my AI tool has given me this outcome. This is the revenue impacted. This is the productivity. And I tell you, you give it to 10 people, they will give 10 different versions, right? And you don't know what version is right. So we use a framework called a lagging and a leading indicators framework, which helps you to measure your AI capability really well. What I mean with that is, today if I deploy a model in production, or I start to leverage any of the large language models in production, these are not going to give me value upfront, right? It is deployed and Smita will come and ask me, tell me how much revenue impact do you have. I don't think anybody can tell you, the impact on day one. But what you can definitely tell is how much of this is adopted, how much is the accuracy, how much is the negative error rate. All of that you can see. That can be your trending for early stages of your deployment and go live. And then your revenue, productivity, all those impacts are going to come much later in the game. So 3 steps: data, change management, what, why, when, where, and then third is the measurement. If you find these 3 in the 140-page playbook, please contact me.
So while we are going to close and before we open to audiences for questions, if there is one thing that we think the AI native GCCs haven't caught up with, what would that be? Or, where are they on that journey?
I think this particular change, is we treat it as a 0 to 1 switch, right? It is definitely a big disruptive switch change that, has happened. To my earlier point that I was saying that, but you are not going to get the value right away. I've switched on my, switch and I see the full room lighted up. It is not happening, right? There is still last 15, 20, 30% is still pending. I don't think AI has solved for that. And I think that's the biggest disconnect that right now is there out there in the industry, and you talk to 10 different people, you get 10 different versions. So I believe that is the big disconnect.
Awesome.
I think to some extent, while we're very excited about it, we have not yet caught up to the fact that this is not about transformation at all. It is about survival and winning in the market. For example, in the financial services industry, financial crime is already AI-native. The organizations and institutions that are supposed to defend us or protect us are not there at all. And therefore, it's no longer about should we, it's more of why are we not already there, in which areas should we get there. I think the second aspect also is, in the midst of it, we've still not caught up on what is the true impact of this to the work of the future and the workforce of the future, right? Is everybody equally enthused about this technology? There's a lot of fear out there. How do you look at hand-holding this generation and the generation coming into the workforce, which can help us with that? So we'll have to play a role not just into what's happening now in the future, but also look at the next generation alpha that's coming into the workforce 2 years from now, and what impact does it bring to them? Otherwise, our entire ecosystem of what we're based on could get us.
See, I think there is a good matrices around adoption of AI. Then some level of efficiency gains is also there. But then true business impact and outcome which is getting changed with AI is something which needs to be tracked more effectively and in a unified way. To Amit's point, there are different philosophies and processes with each of the teams are using corporate organizations. So how to unify that and to start tracking the true business outcome with AI, this needs to be tracked more effectively. And also, to Kaustubh's point, workforce of the future and work of the future is changing. So having a playbook, the point which I wanted to playbook also is very important. Okay, what is going to change for the individuals needs to be mentioned and trained and called out very effectively.
Yeah, no, so the function of the future is where we have already started deliberating on. A very simple example is, in earlier days, there used to be a check. You write a check, you give it to a person, the person will deposit it in the bank. 3 days, 4 days later, you get your money in your account. Then came CTS, a step change. And digitally scan the check, you get the money in a matter of day or something. If you're still stuck to that is what I need to optimize, you will fail. Now it's a matter of digital payment, transferring the money in a matter of seconds. And that is what we are talking about, how the function of the future should look like in a banking. And that's where all of us need to move. It will redefine the skill, it will create new kind of personas within the bank that will still carry forward the same business, same experience, same set of customers, and hopefully capture the market share as
Sure, thanks. Any questions from the audience? We've got about 5 odd minutes.
I had a question which is also about the framework and how governance and measurement and all that is going to be very important, which makes sense. I guess in a very fast-moving world, how do organizations move fast? And I kind of see two possibilities, right? The organization standard up fast enough, as Federal says this, like, please just hold back for we're not ready. Or there's like just Goldilocks, everything like figuring it out right. Or people just move forward, it's all fragmented and messy and you have kind of the problem of time. How do you see like the whole thing evolving? Like where do you find, how do you see that happening at this point?
So I think there's a word for that, right? And by the time probably we finish this, event, might be a new model out there, right? So somebody would have built that. There's a word called responsible acceleration that we use, right? So you need to accelerate as AI and tech leaders, right? You can't say that we will not deliver, and you face that dilemma, right? When you are especially deploying capabilities which are front-ending, customer-facing. For large organizations, there is a high risk that you carry, right? With AI hallucination that happens, one wrong answer can really matter a lot. So we call it responsible acceleration. When you are deploying AI capabilities, you have to, but with responsibility.
And that's what you see in regulated industry, and each of the countries will have their own set of approach on how they want to adopt AI. You have EU Act, which is very restrictive in nature, to US, which allows a lot more freedom, to somewhere in between Singapore, FEED is a system that they have adopted, their banking regulators. India has now started talking about building the infrastructure, the base on which the future of AI will flourish. So banks, regulator, governments, all of them are playing their part, but at the same time ensuring the fiduciary responsibility is not compromised.
I feel there is no option. AI adoption is very, very important. We all need to adopt it. But doing it in a right way is very important. Not doing it in a right way, just in a hurry that, okay, since the entire world is doing it, I also have to do it without having the right foundation and right governance, is going to be very hard.
So I think we've come to the end of the session. So thank you. I think we spoke about a bunch of things. We spoke about what do we look at when we're looking, at the foundations. If organizations and people are exploring an AI native path in the GCC, then what are the components to that? Then of course, what does that mean when we are combining systems and humans, and what does it happen to judgment and everything that we spoke at a technical level. So thank you so much for joining me today, and it's been a great conversation, lots of learning. Thank you.